Hello, and thank you for joining today's demo, EMM Fundamentals with Math 360. My name is Kayla Bittner, and I'm your webinar master moderating today's webinar. Dan Chevron, our mobile master from IBM, will be walking you through the Math 360 portal and teaching you how to manage basic enterprise mobility management, or EMM, features in just a minute.
Thanks, Kayla. All right, everyone. So we're going to go right into our portal. So give me 1 second here. And just to verify, Kayla, can we see the portal now?
Yes, we can. We're ready to rock and roll.
Great. All right. So when you log into your portal, this will pull up to your home page. It serves as your dashboard. Now, the first thing that draws your attention is going to be this multicolored area down here. This is our alert center. It's a fully customizable area, so we can have as many alert setups as we'd like. Now, the red tiles we see are for devices that are out of compliance, so it's neither good nor bad. Or sorry, it's devices that are out of compliance. The blue tiles we see are neither good nor bad. Those are for informational purposes. Now, there should be another color showing here. There should be a green tile. That's reporting with no issues. Now, unfortunately, all these red tiles, they're out of compliance. We need to get these fixed. So once they go back down to 0, they're going to turn green again. That's your main goal with this area here. And right now it looks pretty chaotic. We can actually rearrange these. So we can do this by color, level of importance, any which way that you prefer, we can have it set up that way. Over to the right, we have the activity feed, which serves as a history for the portal. Then we have quick links to devices, users, apps, and docs, and our search bar. So let me pull up a device for you. I'll show you how it reports and some actions we can take for it. Then we'll take a look at our policies. So rather than going through logs and files to see how a device will report, we actually have a splash page of information to start your walk with. So here we have our hardware specs, our workplace and security settings, and our network information. So at a glance, we can just double check and see how it's reporting. Now, so far, everything looks great on my end. Nothing but green check marks. We're looking great. Now, if I want more in-depth information, currently I'm in my summary view. I can actually go to this drop-down menu here and choose any one of these topics for more information. Now, as far as actions are concerned, over to the right, we can refresh this device information manually, see the last known location, send a message and a buzz command. And then we have some more capabilities where we can lock the device, reset the passcode, and then we can also have our wipe capabilities. So a selective wipe will remove any information that's been pushed from Math 360 in the Exchange environment off the device, leaving only personal info intact. So pictures, text messages, personal emails won't be touched, but all that corporate information is wiped. So let's say you have a user who brought their own device and left the company for whatever reason, you can make a clean separation from them. Or let's say if the device is lost or stolen, we always recommend doing a selective wipe first, because if you find that device again, you can just revoke that action and push their corporate info back to them, and they'll be able to pick up where they left off. And also we can do a full wipe of the device, and this will bring it back to factory settings. Now, this is a permanent action, so once you wipe the device, there's no revoking it from there. Moving forward, we'll go into our policies. This is where we can set up our policies for users. You can have as many as you'd like. Now, when you first sign up, you'll have a default policy for iOS, Android, and Windows Phone. Down the line, if there's any other platforms you wish to manage, just let us know, and we have defaults we've built in the back end that we'll just turn on for you. So I'm going to stick with iOS for today's call, just to keep things consistent here. So I'm going to let this iOS policy load up. It'll just take a moment. There we go. Now, under our workplace settings, that's part of our secure productivity suite. Here is where we can set up the user's email within the Math 360 app. Now, the Math 360 container for email, it's not an inline proxy, so nothing sits on our servers. We don't strip attachments or filter email for you. It actually just redirects the flow into a sandbox environment, so you have a little bit more control over it. So in this area, we can also stop the user from forwarding their attachments, so they're going to stay locked in that container. We can even disable copy and pasting and stop the user from exporting their contacts, and also block the use of the app when the device is out of compliance. And here we can also set up a passcode for the application. So this way users can access their devices as they normally would, but to access their corporate information, they would have to enter a passcode for it. Under device settings, this is where we can actually start to customize the devices. We can set up a secure device passcode as well, basically giving you a double wall of protection. There's also device restrictions. So here we can turn off the camera, screen capture, Siri, Touch ID, just to name a few of those. We have a ton of other options available for you. We can even hide native applications, like the old YouTube app, iTunes and Safari, and we can go as far as turning off the use of iCloud as well. Now, with application compliance, this is going to be across the board for every platform out there. They all strictly state you can't stop a user from downloading an app. So we have these rules set up with a blacklist or a whitelist, just telling users that if they download an app that's not allowed, they're going to fall out of compliance for it and be in violation of company policy. Here we have accessing settings if you wish to use the native mail app on your devices. There's also Wi-Fi profiles you can push out, as well as VPN configurations. Now, we work with well over 100 VPN clients. In our demo portal, we only have a small sampling available. So if you use VPN but you don't see it in this list, most likely we do work with it. Under advanced settings, we can push out email settings for IMAP and POP, as well as web clips. We can also change web domains, cellular, font, and AirPlay settings. Calendar and contacts is used to set up Google Enterprise. Then we have certificates, proxies, and single sign-on settings. And down below, we have our supervised settings. This is where we can integrate with Apple Configurator, mostly used for corporate-owned devices. So here we can turn off the bookstore, erotica, we can hide iMessage, even stop the user from removing apps, to name a few of those. We can even set up an app lock and lock in applications and devices at all times. So that way users can't switch back to the home screen or to another app that's going to stay locked in there. We can also change the use of the buttons as well as the accessibility options down below. So next, we'll go into our compliance rules. We've set up our policies, so our next step is to actually enforce them. And keep in mind that with Master 360, you'll also get your own customizable end-user license agreement, so you can integrate that with your corporate policies. So under our basic settings, we have a list of our operating systems that will follow our rules, along with our admins that will receive alerts when there's a change made. Under our enforcement rules, we can enforce enrollment for our devices. So if a user deletes the Master 360 app, or if they restore the device, that's only going to throw them out of compliance. It will not fully unenroll them. You'll take the necessary steps to get them back on track. We can also enforce operating system versions. Now, we can't push out an OS update, but we can tell our users if they need to meet up to a minimum or can't go past the maximum of the operating system. Here, we have remote wipe support for full and selective wipes. Encryption support is available for Android, BlackBerries, and Windows phones. iOS is actually natively encrypted. We can enforce the whitelist and blacklist for apps here, and also restrict jailbroken and rooted devices. So if I wanted to download an app I'm not supposed to, here we can either send an email alert, block access to the mail server, do a selective wipe, change the policy, do a full wipe, or unenroll their device. Now this green plus sign here, we can create a workflow of actions. So immediately afterwards, let's keep our email alert. After 1 hour, let's change their policy and lock them down. Let's say after 6 hours, we can do a selective wipe. And after 1 day, we can decide that we're done with this device. We'll just unenroll to be on the safe side. Before, you would have to go in manually to do all these actions and essentially babysit the user. Now, you can just create a workflow and let it run on its own. With geofencing rules, this is for location-based policy management. So let's say in your office you have a policy that cameras are not allowed. You can create an invisible fence that once users enter that area, their cameras will be disabled until they leave. Or if, let's say, a device left that area and it's not supposed to, it's been stolen. So you can send a lock command or a wipe command or what have you. There's a lot of different ways you can have this set up. There's no limit to how many geofences you can set up or how wide you can make them or even who applies to them. That's all up to you. And with the expense monitoring rules down below, this is where we can actually set up data threshold alerts for users. So you're provided with 3 different threshold alerts. Now, this is to monitor the overall data for users. So, Master 360 does not monitor voice or text messages, nor does it log what they've been doing on their devices. But you can at least look at their overall data as a whole. So if I were to use 80% of my limit, the admin can send an email alert, block access, do a selective wipe, or change the policy. Now, most of the time, admins just create an email alert system setup, but if you want to get more strict as time goes on, that's up to you. Moving on into application management, this is where we can push out apps to our users. This works for iOS, Android, Windows Phone, and Mac OS X. So we can either go to their respective app stores, or if we write our own applications, we can load those into the portal and apply policy to them. That's called app wrapping. So if I want to push out an app right from the store, for instance, let's say I need an inventory app. Once I type that in, it's going to search the store, pull up some matching results, so I'll choose this one. We can also use the volume purchase program and enter the file here so our users don't have to pay for it. At that point, we can also remove this app if we unenroll a device and do a selective wipe, stop distribution of the app, or sign up from a shared device. And we can even stop the data backup on iTunes. So if it's an app that logs sensitive info, that's not going to get carried over to our computer when we're going to back it up. And once we have it all set up, we just push it down to our users. So we can go to a single device, a group, or all of our devices. Moving on to document management, here's where we can push out files and folders to users. We can also integrate with SharePoint, Windows File Share, Box, and Google Drive. And we can also set up expiration dates for documents as well. So if I want to push out a document, I would just find what I'm looking for on the computer. It's going to come up with a name and a search tag. Now here I can stop the user from exporting, copying and pasting, even stop them from emailing it. In order to download it, we can have it password protected, download automatically or only on Wi-Fi, and even stop them from deleting the document. And once we have that all set up, we just push it down to our users as we would an application. And as far as reporting goes, I'll just pull up a basic report. I know there's been a lot of information your way in the last few minutes, so it's a pretty generic report here. We have a lot of test devices in our demo portal, so this really looks like a BYOD environment. On the outer circle, we have all of our devices. Then we have our platforms in the center. So if I want to check out my iPad minis and how they're reporting, I can just click on this wedge, and it's going to give me a basic report, making sure everyone's in check. And going through, I can see everyone's enrolled so far. They're up to date and reporting correctly. Nothing out of the ordinary. If I saw anything that was out of the ordinary, like I said, user removed control or not enrolled or not available, I'd be able to take proper actions for those specific users. But everything's reporting correctly, so I don't have to worry about it. I can also look at the available operating system versions at a glance, making sure everyone's up to date. And we can also check out the free sticks of the devices. Now, we cannot do a remote desktop on those platforms. The only way that that's possible will be for Samsung Safe devices. We have another application called Master360 Remote Control, where the user would give you permission to control their device from the portal. But other than that, we can at least see how much space they have left in their device. So, for instance, if I need to push out some apps and docs to my users, I can just tell these folks with less than a gig available to make some room, or they might fall into compliance otherwise. So that pretty much does it for the mobile devices. Let me just cover laptops for you real quick, just so you have an idea of how that reports. Now, it's not the same type of management as we have for mobile devices. So let me just track one down for you real quick. This would be a lot faster. So I'm actually going to search for this specific device. Here we go. So the same with our inventory view here. We'll be able to get the summary page where we can see the hardware specs, the security that's running on this device, and the proxy settings. Now, we don't provide the security for the devices just because there's so many different products out there. So what we can do is enforce it and make sure that it's running on the device. So far, everything's great except for the encryption status is inactive and their auto-update status is disabled, so we can actually change that for the user. The summary information, we can get some more in-depth info as far as all the programs that have been installed, their endpoint security, their installed devices. And as far as actions are concerned, here we can send a message to the user so it'll appear as a pop-up. We can locate this device. We can lock it down. We can start and stop their services, do a shutdown and a reboot. We can also wipe the hard drive down to the C level. We can distribute a package, so any applications or documents you can send to users in a bundle. And then we can also configure their patch settings. So that pretty much covers what I showed as far as the portal goes. At this point, I'm going to hand it back to Kayla, and that's pretty much it from my side of it. Thank you, everyone.